Welcome everyone to this webinar on ZDK CLI, the fourth one in Zoho CRM Developer Series for ZDK CLI. So ZDK CLI, for those who are new here, is a set of command line tools that you can use to interact with Zoho CRM. That means you can use commands from a terminal to add or modify metadata in Zoho CRM. So before we start, let us take a quick recap on what we discussed in the previous sessions. We have the recordings available, as Janagi said. So in the first webinar, we discussed what is ZDK CLI, its definition, how its usages, beneficiaries of ZDK CLI, how to install ZDK CLI in your terminal, the supported features of ZDK CLI. We also had a demo on the basic commands of ZDK CLI. In the second webinar, we discussed in detail all the ZDK CLI commands and the underlying ZDK CLI directory structure that supports its working. In the third webinar, we discussed creating and updating supported metadata using ZDK CLI, pushing changes made using ZDK CLI, and handling conflicts. Conflicts are when changes are present in the local copy and the remote copy for the same file. So we discussed how to handle that. We also discussed using ZDK CLI for a use case that complements Zoho CRM. We discussed how a Zoho partner, Silker, wants to organize conferences and uses ZDK CLI to add the supported modules, fields, and roles for the use case. In this webinar, we will be extending that use case with a widget. Before that, we will also be discussing how to create widgets with ZDK CLI, push those widgets to your Zoho CRM organization. We will compare using ZET CLI for widgets and ZDK CLI for widgets. So this is the widgets that we will be creating today. It is a heat map of the attendees of the conference that I spoke about. So sales person can look at this heat map and plan sales activity accordingly. So we will be creating this widget using ZET CLI and ZDK CLI towards this end of the session. Please stay tuned. So before we get to the demo, let's go through the basics first. So what are widgets? Widgets are embeddable UI components that you can use to extend the functionality of your Zoho CRM. It can be added to different components in Zoho CRM, such as custom button, dashboard, related list, etc. You can use widget to interact with third-party application without the need of switching between various applications. In ZDK CLI with widgets, you can add new ones, pull the existing widgets in your Zoho CRM organization and edit them. You can track the changes in your widgets in version control systems like Git or Mercurial. You can also export widgets and the supported metadata, if any, to other CRM organization using ZDK CLI. So to create widgets using ZDK CLI, the command is ZDK meta create widgets. So these are the various inputs that are required. I'm creating a map related list widget here. So the widget name is map. API name is also given as map. I'm giving a short widget description, selecting the widget type from the different types listed. I will show this later in the demo. Widgets are of two types. Widgets can be of internal hosting and external hosting. Internal hosting means I am yet to start coding on the widget after I create the widget folder. External hosting means I have the widget logic hosted elsewhere and I'm adding it in Zoho CRM. So here I have selected it as internal logic and I'll have the meta file created. We will see the meta file in a bit. As we already saw, these are the inputs required: name of the widget, API name of the widget, description, types will be listed. The different types are web tab, related list, custom button, wizard, or blueprint. Hosting can be of two types, internal or external. You also need to provide the base URL of the widget. So how do you create widgets with internal hosting? So you execute the command ZDK meta create widgets, give the widget name, API name, and description. Here I have given them for a heat map for external attendees, and I gave the widget description also accordingly. Widget type is selected as home page dashboard here, and hosting is selected as internal. This creates the widget folder structure, and then the meta file of the widget is created, and then I can start writing the logic of the widget. So here these files will be created. I have the widget meta JSON file in this file name format, widget API name dot widget hyphen meta dot JSON. It will be in the path ZDK project name, that is the project directory of the your ZDK CLI CRM meta widgets. You'll also have the widget project directory created inside ZDK project name CRM widgets, and widget.html, which will contain the structure, logic, etc. of the widget. In this path, ZDK project name, CRM, widgets, widget API name, app. You can change the name of the widget. You can give a different HTML here and change the name when you change it in the meta JSON file. So how to create widgets with external hosting? As I mentioned earlier, external hosting means that the logic of the widget is present elsewhere. You don't have to code the widget. So here I am creating a calendar widget for which the logic is present in this base URL that I gave here. So I gave ZDK meta create widgets, widget name, API name, description, type as dashboard, hosting as external, and the base URL of the widget, upon which the meta file of the widget is created. And you have it at this file, widget API name dot widgets hyphen meta dot JSON. So here the widget API name is calendar. So I'll have calendar dot widgets hyphen meta dot JSON. In the path, ZDK project directory CRM meta widgets. Meta file of the widget, these are the modifiable properties. The start URL can be modified. By default, it will be widget.html. Description, active property, base URL in case of external widgets, name of the widget, whether the widget is mobile compatible or not for these widgets. So these are the properties in the meta file that you can modify in existing widgets. To add widgets to your Zoho CRM organization, you simply execute ZDK org push command as in case of other metadata. And when you do this, each widget will be processed separately. Even if there is an issue with one widget, it won't affect the addition of other widget to your Zoho CRM organization. They get processed separately. As in ZET CLI, you don't have to pack the widget and manually upload the zip file in ZDK CLI. ZDK CLI does all that work for you. Let's compare ZET CLI and ZDK CLI for widget. As we already mentioned, with ZDK CLI, you can create the widgets in your Zoho CRM organization and add the widget logic. You can easily pull and manipulate all the existing widgets. You can export widget along with any metadata required for its working to other Zoho CRM organizations. You can add widgets directly. You can do related changes in same place. What I mean here is, if you need an additional field for your working of your widget, you can add it in the terminal itself instead of adding the logic of the widget in terminal and going to the UI and adding the field there. ZET CLI, you can add the widget logic locally and test widgets locally using the set run command. You can package the widget using set pack command, upon which you will get a zip file which can be uploaded. Okay, so we'll start with the demo now. So let us quickly see what our widget is all about. It's a dashboard widget. So Silka Zoho CRM partner is organizing a conference in which we have different attendees for the conference, the attendees could be leads and contacts of Silker or other attendees outside of the CRM. We are calling them external attendees in this case. They also have speakers and venues related. So in our previous webinar, we demonstrated creating all these modules and fields using ZDK CLI. So with this widget, it will show a heat map with which the location of the different attendees can be visualized over Google Maps. This will help salespeople to plan different sales activities, plan future conferences, and also for allocating sales person for each location. So let us take a look at the data model. So here we have, let me quickly select the relevant modules here. So in the data module, we have conferences module, which will store the details of different conferences that happen. Each conference will have speakers, attendees, venues, and each attendee could be external attendee in case it is a lead or contact. They are lookup to lead and contact modules. For tracking the address, we have street and city fields with which we will form an address string and geocode them onto our widget. So let me quickly show the widget logic here. I have used Zoho embedded app SDKs in JS to code this widget. So here I have the CSS for the map, and I also have a loading spinner. For that, I have the CSS here. I'm using Google Maps API. So if you are going to use this, you need to replace your key here. I have added visualization library here for adding a heat map layer. So I have a COQL query here, which will select the street and city from the attendees module where attendee type is external. We are interested in external attendees because they are outside of our CRM. So for each attendees, I will have these are the gradients of the different colors in the heat map. So for each attendees, we have the street and address map to this address, and each of them will be geocoded. And once all the attendees are done, and in case of more than 200 attendees, we also have pagination handle for in our CQL query here. So once all the attendees are processed, the map will be displayed with the heat map. So let me first show you how to do this in ZET CLI. So I'm using this here. The first command I execute is set init. So I'm selecting which Zoho CRM service. Here it is, which service of Zoho. So I'm selecting Zoho CRM here. And I'm giving project name as Heatmap set. So I have the widget folder created here. So as you can see, I have the widget folder created here. And I will also have a dummy widget.html file. I already have the widget logic in a backup file. So I'll copy that widget logic to this one. So I'm copying it here. So I've copied the file. Now, before adding this to your Zoho CRM organization, I can test this by using the set run command. So I'm running the set run command here. So it is showing set is running at the local host. So you can use this to test in your local machine for your testing purpose only. It will only work in your local machine. So I will add this as an external widget in my Zoho CRM. Let me quickly add it here. I'll create a new widget. So I will name it Heatmap Set Testing. Type is homepage dashboard, hosting external. And here in the base URL, I give the localhost app widget.html. So now I have it created here and I need to associate it to the homepage dashboard. So I'm going to my homepage here. I'm clicking on add component, widgets, and I can go ahead and install it. So we have the load spinner and the heat map is loaded. So you can see the different location of the attendees. I will quickly show you the attendees module as well. So I have many fields in the attendees module and it will fetch the details from the street and the city here. So that is what is showing up here. We also have a logic to determine where the map is centered when the widget gets loaded. So I'll quickly reload the page and show it to you. Here it is centered around New York. So let me quickly change it. So I can give different longitude and latitude here to change the centering of the map. So I have changed it here, and because it is still running, when I reload the page, the map center will differ now. So that's how set run command is useful. Without adding the widget back to your organization, you can quickly test it here. So here you can see that it is centered around Texas, center of the US. So I should move the map to see my actual locations. So let us see how to add this widget now. I'll execute the command set pack here. So when I execute the command set pack, it will pack the widget successfully in Heatmap set, that is the name of the folder, .zip in dist folder. So here inside dist folder, I have the zipped folder. So if I want to add it to the widgets, I have to go to set up widgets, create new widget. This means that I can test the widget in other machines as well, not just my local machine. So I will give the heat map name as heat map set here. Type as homepage dashboard, hosting as Zoho. I'm uploading the zip file that's set packed for me and giving the index page as widget.html. So when you do this and you go ahead and associate the widget in your homepage dashboard, you will have the widget added in your Zoho CRM organization, added and associated. So here we have the heat map available. The earlier added one is not working now because set command is not, I came out of the set run. It's not running now. So I have the widget created using set CLI here. Now let us go ahead and see how to do this in ZDK CLI. So I have a different folder here in which I have initialized ZDK CLI and connected it to my Zoho CRM organization. So the command I said earlier is ZDK meta create widgets. I'm giving it as heat map API name as Heatmap, widget description as Heatmap for external attendees. So as I mentioned earlier, the different widget types are listed here. You can select the widget type you need not type it. And the hosting is also listed, giving it as internal, because I'm yet to create the logic. So the command that gets executed here internally is the set command. So as we had the folder structure created when we executed the set init command, we have the folder structure for widget created here as well. So we have here CRM widgets folder. Inside that, I have the heatmap widget folder, same as set. And here I have the widgets meta.json that I talked about earlier. Inside the meta.json, I have different details such as the hosting type of the widget. Here it is internal widget. File name, this is the file that we will be uploading. So ZDK CLI will be packing this widget to heatmap.widgets.zip, similar to how setpack did it. API name of the widget, permission of the widgets, name, base URL, start URL, description, source, and type as homepage dashboard. So let me quickly do a find here and replace the widget logic. So I'm using the same widget logic here as well. So now the widget logic is present locally. So I have ZDK, or I'm executing ZDK or push command here. If you have any other metadata that also needs to be added at this stage, you can add those metadata. We have different metadata. We can add different metadata such as modules, fields, layout, roles, profiles, etc. as well, along with widgets. So when I execute the ZDK or push command, it is showing the file path and action. I have the meta.json file, and this, as I said, the ZDK CLI has packed the widget for me in a zip file. And push is an asynchronous command. To get the result of the push command, I'm executing ZDK or push result -- job ID command. So here, when I do this, the widget is uploaded in my Zoho CRM organization as well. I don't have to go and upload it as we did in ZET CLI. So here we have, let me go to widgets and show you in setup widgets. So these are the widgets, the testing one and the one we uploaded using ZET CLI. And this is the one we uploaded using ZDK CLI. So after this, I can go ahead and associate it with home dashboard. Same procedure as earlier, add components, widgets. I'm selecting the widget name, and it will show, as we already showed it, there is nothing new here. Same widget will get loaded. So that's how we use widgets in ZET CLI and ZDK CLI. Alternatively, before you add it, you can also add the widget. As we added the widget for testing from the UI there, you can also add the widget here as an external widget. You can also run the widgets in CRM widgets folder. Inside the specific widget folder, the set commands and ZDK commands will work hand in hand. So when you execute set run here, sorry, I had the wrong folder there. So when you execute the set run here, that will also work. And you can, before you add the widget using ZDK CLI, you can add it as localhost and test it from your ZDK CLI project directory itself. So that's with widgets in ZET CLI and ZDK CLI.